Hey, welcome back. Yvonne Wakefield's YouTube channel, where I read from my books, Babe in the Woods. We finished Babe in the Woods, Building a Life One Log at a Time, and now we are reading Babe in the Woods, Self-Portrait. We'll be into chapter 5 tonight. I just have to catch you up on my week. You know what dog tired means? So I think everybody knows I adopted this little Chiweenie guy, teddy bear. Well, I also take care of a dog for a friend when she's sick. So this weekend, I was taking care of another dog whose parents went to a party, a weekend party, and then I get a call, I have to take her dog because she's sick. So I had 5 dogs all weekend long. And I think if you squeezed them all together, they might make a 60-pound dog. But they all have their own poo-poo, pee-pee schedules. They all have their own disciplines. And when you throw in a baby puppy, you got a lot of energy going on. So I'm going to get out of my dog tired phase, and we're going to get into chapter 5. So remember, at this point, I'm in my 20s. I think I'm 20 years old. I'm living in Mendocino, California in my truck while I'm helping somebody build a house in Mendocino, and I decided to leave one Christmas Eve to drive to the cabin. I went to the cabin. I found my brother up on the mountain, and he made me Christmas dinner. And we took a ride on a sled that he had jury-rigged from a refrigerator door. So that's where we left you off at chapter 4. So chapter 5 is Happy New Year. The next morning I wake like the interior logs, all snug and toasty, compliments of the consistent, reliable wood stove heat. But all those months of breathing coastal fog have embedded in my lungs, and I can't shake the bronchitis brewing in my chest for as long as I started sleeping in a truck bed. I stay in the loft all day and cough up phlegm tacky enough to repair a few loose cheeking patches if the desire was there. The only inclination to unravel from my blanket cocoon is born of necessity to use the outhouse, the seat cold as the refrigerator door that vaulted over me only the night before. By late afternoon, I'm bored sick with being balled up in a coughing fit. Downstairs, I sit mummified in a blanket in front of the fire until footsteps on the porch punctuate my crouping. So while I'm reading, are 2 of my producers in the corner with teddy bear on his lap, and they're like partying out on a phone or something. It's a little distracting. So if you see me like going to their eyes and stuff, they're kind of like having a love bug fest. So anyway, my brother comes up on the porch. I do not offer to get up and make him a cup of coffee. I am too ill. Now, Arturo, where are we going to go with this?
Sorry.
I'm going to start over this paragraph.
Yeah.
If I had a camera in this corner, you'd see this really cute guy with this little cute puppy, and they're just hanging really good. Okay, so here we go back. I stay in the loft all day and cough up phlegm tacky enough to repair a few of those loose chinking patches if the desire was there. The only inclination to unravel from my blanket cocoon is born of necessity to use the outhouse, the seat cold as a refrigerator door that vaulted over me only the night before. By late afternoon, I'm bored sick with being balled up in a coughing fit. Downstairs, I sit mummified in a blanket in front of the fire until footsteps on the porch punctuate my crouping. My brother flashes by the window, opens the door, and steps inside. I do not offer to get up and make him a cup of coffee. I am too ill to stir up for myself. Howdy. I'm leaving for Vail. He wipes his nose on his sleeves, fishes around in his jacket pocket, looks down on me. Pulling the blanket over my mouth to stifle a cough, I ask, "You going to Colorado?" I wonder why he'd not divulged this the night before. We'd skied there as kids, and I wondered if my brother planned to shimmy back into ski pants, lift tickets, persona again. No, Vail, Oregon. He gives his chin a quick heft. Like I should be able to hear the difference between pronunciations distinguishing acres of onions and a Rocky Mountain high. Before you go, can you go downtown and get my prescription filled? A week before Christmas, I'd gone to the county clinic in Mendocino to see about my cough and was prescribed tetracycline. I hadn't filled the prescription, which was still in my wallet. With my history of upper respiratory disease, at this stage, antibiotics were the surest cure around, yet a snowbound mountainside away. Nope, is his reply. Not even a sorry. Just gotta go finish out a job in Vail. Mark pulls 2 foil-wrapped packages from his pocket and leaves me with turkey and mashed potato leftovers as he lets himself out and more cold air in. The next morning, my throat and lungs feel like I'm gargling a mix of chainsaws and serrated bread knives. I knew if I didn't start taking antibiotics right away, I'd likely take on the same position I'd found a deer the summer before. Actually, it was a corpse by the time I came across it. Tangled in a fence, its neck was twisted in barbed wire, gouged and shredded. Its snout was dried open and a scream stilled beyond any savior's hearing range. Tetracycline would send me clear of that fence, but getting the prescription filled was about as easy a job as that deer head struggling to free itself from devil wire. Hours after the next sunrise, I hiked down the mountain with an empty knapsack. I'm so sickly, I have to rest against a pine, the bark patched with moss that's as green and clingy as the mucus I spit. The tree supports my legs that want to collapse, but the story of a hapless miner gives me the sheer will to put one foot in front of the other. As the story went, the miner lived like a hermit, scouring tailings from boarded-up shafts near Sumter, once a 19th century Oregon boomtown, now famous for its summer flea markets. The hunters who discovered his skeletal remains concluded he died of exposure or other natural causes while hiking out for supplies one winter, as there was no evidence to support any malicious conjecture. The only identifying documentation discovered on him was a penciled shopping list in his breast pocket. This happened a few years before I began building my own mountain hermitage. Maybe his heart just gave out, I think, willing my own to tick as I catch my breath, or he lost heart. Living alone in the woods can do that too long to a person. I know this is a fact. I also know that if I don't get moving, I'll end up like that man I named the shopping list miner. He deserved at least that eulogy. If I let sickness straddle my stride, I might freeze to death, and then a hunter would find me, in or out of hunting season, clothing flapping like prayer flags over my stooped carcass. I would be referred to as the dead girl, since I was young and my reasons for living alone didn't involve mining, but the prescription with my name on it and a driver's license in my wallet would void my anonymity. I do not want an Yvonne, the dead girl story told, so I hock a loogie, put one foot down, and force the other to follow even faster. While the prescription is getting filled at Len's drugstore, I go to Chester's for groceries and buy a 5-pound sack of oranges that nearly fills the knapsack of the same color. On the return drive, I stop at the Nelsons. Rhonda, the hazel-haired mother of this solid Mormon family, is the only one home. She invites me in and we exchange news. In the past, whether I've asked for help or not, she has been there for me. Once even manually jacking up a car with a flat tire in order to drive me to the hospital when I was sick with tick bite. With her sixth sense, her superpower mothering, she can see beyond my croaking sickness, past the hollow of my eyes, a kinship lacking. Heartfully, she again includes me in her fold, even though I am not blood family. She makes me stay until her son Matt, same age as me, returns so he can drive me all the way up to the cabin in their 4-wheel drive truck. A prospect I accept. As we are leaving, Rhonda says, with that little Mona Lisa smile and peaceful twinkle in her eye, Levon, remember Levon is like the nickname everybody was giving me. Yvonne, are you going to join us for our New Year's celebration at church? When, I ask. Why, December 31st, of course. Rhonda gives me a, what's the matter with you look? Of course I knew when New Year's Eve was celebrated, but I hadn't been tracking days so well since I took sick. I knew, though, I needed to be in Mendocino by New Year's Day because Leona said she'd be back the 2nd and ready to work. I also knew I was in no condition to drive hundreds of miles only to sleep in the back of what was responsible for my jousting with pneumonia. I accept Rhonda's invitation to a church function, not the first one or the last one. Not so much out of desire for human connection, but to atone for another invitation she'd once extended when I showed up at a wedding reception in the church's common area wearing a knee-length skirt, stretched sketchbook in hand. Over the next days, I let the antibiotics kick in and try to figure out a proper outfit. 5 shiny, galvanized steel trash cans are lined in neat rows beneath the cabin. Each one acts as a kind of closet. Some contain a mix of my present and past apparel. Dresses, skirts, petticoats mixed with wool, shirts, work boots, and other frilly stuff that would snag in the forest. 3 days of eating oranges and drinking so much rosehip tea my pea blooms like roses in the snow, and sleeping in a cabin so warm I sweat is time enough for the antibiotics to kick in. By New Year's Eve morning, I feel well enough to rummage a wardrobe out of the garbage cans. Inside one, next to a pair of pitch and soot-tanned Reichley boots, is the garter belt to hold the nylon stockings I wore as an adolescent, and pantyhose I later wore to work in inky offices with copy machines and self-correcting Selectric IBMs. Next to the wool-rich shirt with the brush fire burn holes is the yellow knit skirt, too prissy to wear to the office, worn reverently to Sunday Mass instead. When I reach down to pull it out, the hem snags on the garter snap and the other end hooking into the left eye of the bass loafer. So I'm going to stop here because probably a lot of you are too young to know what a garter belt was. But before there was pantyhose, if you were going to wear nylons, you'd put this like belt thing around you and it had these elastic things with hooky snaps. And then you pulled your nylons up and you hooked them up. I think there were 2 or 4, I can't remember. But if you sat down on a chair, they would poke into your butt. And like, especially if you were at Mass and you had to sit for an hour, you always had nice little impressions. So when I reached down to pull out, this hem snags on a garter snap, the other end hooking the left eye of a bass loafer. Those are what I usually wore to school and office. Unraveling this jetsam wound together by a classy dress pass, I spy like a rock crab scared into hiding, a lonely bra. My figure hasn't changed since I last wore this clothing, but I'm sure now accustomed to jeans and lumberjack shirts, I've outgrown anything intimately refining. Trying on ladylike outfit like this again will surely send me kicking and bucking. I hang the yellow skirt and jacket behind the stove, hoping the heat will release the wrinkles and not melt the egg yolk yellow synthetic fabric. The pantyhose is full of runs and tossed into the trash bin. The nylons are sound as a garter belt I recall wearing to church, the metal and rubber clips creating fleshy indentations in a bottom positioned upon hardwood pews. Debilitated as I've been over the last days, I remain diligent about my hygiene. Bucket baths have sufficed, but I relish a sudsing beyond what I've been able to maneuver perched like a gargoyle in the kitchen sink. Before I'm ready to socialize, I want a lengthy shampoo under a long and reliable hot shower and know where to find this luxury. An hour before dusk, it is dark enough to light a lamp. Instead, I turn down the wicks, fold the outfit squarely over the bass flaps, the right shoe stuffed with the garter belt nylons, the left with a forlorn bra. These are placed in the knapsack atop a few toiletries, an old sketchbook, and a bottle of tetracycline. After checking in with the Nelsons, I drive to town and check into a hotel built from sandstone blocks. A comfort I haven't budgeted, but figured I deserved since surviving lung-eating disease and Christmas dinner with my brother. Plus, I didn't have the vigor to hike back in the dark to the cabin after the party. A room with a private bath is $12 a night. $8 if you share a shower down a hallway. Norman Bates would feel right at home, meandering. The old man behind the registration desk has dandruff on his shoulders, slick as snow on the sidewalk outside. He says little beyond the price as I exchange a 10 and 2 ones for a brass key attached to a plastic fob big as a freshwater perch. I probably could have saved $4 because I didn't see another soul in that place all night. My room with a private bath is as cold as the cabin had been until I kindled a roaring fire. I rotate the steam heater knob to high, hoping it can muster comfort faster as the wood stove, and turn on the television to keep me company. As the room warms, I scrub and scour until I am sure the water heater is drained and Norman Bates will have to take a cold shower. The black and white TV screen undulates values of static as I fumble with garter and bra claps, less nimbly than snow-tired chains. I am, by now, more adept at fastening. By 7 o'clock, my long hair is dry and sheeny brushed, and I am dressed in clothing foreign as the young woman who once so casually wore them. Clinched into lingerie, I identify with the Christmas night's horse's harness. Instead of bolting, I shoulder my orange knapsack, lighter now, with only pens, an old sketchbook, and a wallet. The LDS parking lot, LDS is the Latter-day Saints, that's the Mormons parking lot of the Mormon church. The LDS parking lot is solid with cars and truck. I park behind a hay-littered flatbed and do not set the emergency brake, fearing that it will freeze, stuck, and impede a hasty retreat. Standing in the doorway and scanning the congregation for my neighborly host, I instantly calculate my skirt is the shortest among the female equation. If anyone notices, they don't mention it. Instead, these Mormons known to me or not open their ranks to welcome me into their celebratory flock. Raised Catholic, I cannot recall enough about my religion and don't know enough about theirs to know whether the ecclesiastical beliefs or my hemline will contort our cordial exchanges. But if the outfit I wore to another of their parties hasn't condemned me, I am confident my more precise dress has not disqualified me from their acceptance. We'll have pancakes at 10, says Matt, taking my parka and handing me a cup of red punch, sweet as his caring gesture. You can set your pack down there. He points to a metal chair. One sip later, I set the cup alongside the sketchbook and a pettigraph pen. I don't know if you guys remember pettigraph pens, but they're ones that you had to fill a cartridge with ink and they always plugged. And that's what I did all my drawings at the cabin with. And I set my pettigraph pen, aligning them beside a nondescript placemat, one setting among many others on the table surrounded by kids and adults shuffling plastic tokens across game boards. I'd outgrown Candyland and Chutes and Ladders and didn't plan to stay long enough to win a game of Monopoly, so I made gesture drawings in that sketchbook, started my first winter at the cabin. I wanted to show my early work to Leona. Remember, Leona I'm exchanging carpentry work for her illustration work to Leona and brought it to the party to fill the final few pages and to keep me from getting antsy. Having a good time, Laban? Rhonda asks as she takes a seat beside me. I thought I was until she asked, but when I look around at all the sunny families, I struggle inside to be free of this place I got myself snared into, just like the poor deer I'd seen the summer before. Sheer politeness holds me back like barbed wire. I stay seated, making small talk with Rhonda and say, "Thank you. when Matt holds out a plate of pancakes. There are two of them nearly as big as the plate, and one ham slice thick as the pancakes, all slicked together with syrup. Mind if I look? Glenn, Rhonda's husband, wanders over and picks up my sketchbook as I finger plastic utensils. This is the same sketchbook I'd brought to that wedding reception at the church before, and I had forgotten it included more than landscape studies. No, go ahead, I reply, forking into the first bite, then blotting syrup on my wrist with paper napkins. The great father of this Mormon family thumbs the pages, then stares at one too long. I lean in for a closer look, and my face turns red as the cup of punch posted by my elbow. They're flowers. Wildflowers, I say. In the spring opening, I prattle out a white lie and grab the sketchbook before Glenn pages to several other drawings I'd copy from Betty Dotson's Liberating Masturbation, a meditation in self-love. To stymie any remote possibility of a discussion revolving around these drawings that actually resemble sprung vulvas and not spring violets, I take a big bite of oozy pancake. With a full mouth, it would be impolite to chew and carry on a conversation about vaginal flora. Aunt Jemima drivels over my bottom lip as I gum a saccharine mash. That mouthful felt like all the people around here is just too sweet to swallow. I don't fit in here, just like I never will again ease into a world where nylon stocking and bras and being girly are part of the social fabric. I pardon myself from this welcoming table. The engine turns over on the first try, and I steer clear of the LDS parking lot. I could just keep driving past the country's sole stoplight. By sunrise, I'd likely reach the redwoods, but just down the street in a creepy hotel, I have a warm bed waiting. Tomorrow, I would not. All right, so I stopped from introducing what I talked about, that Betty Dotson book. I mean, this is like really dating me, from 1974. This was a feminist illustrator. I don't want to show all the pictures in here, but I have the original copy of the Betty Dotson book right here. And that's the book I refer to. And I did actually look at her line. She's got good quality line drawings, good cross hatching. And this was like way before you had computerized stuff. So it's all hand drawn. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed tonight's chapter. We'll get into the next chapter next week. So again, if you could like my YouTube channel, if you could follow my books, if you could buy my books, if you could tell people about my books, that would be great. And I think that's going to be about it, except Teddy. Let me see if I can get Teddy Bear here. Teddy Bear, come. Nope. So as always, it's getting to be summer. Stay hydrated. Bye-bye. See you next week.